We are on 7D, going to the Great Land of Hanover. The Saugeen Cedar Heights East final report. Scott's on deck. I'm looking for a mover. I'll call for Councillor Patterson, very appropriate, seconded by Councillor Klumpus. Scott, you're on.
Great. Thanks, Warden Hicks and members of council. So what we have before us is a report on a plan of subdivision in Hanover. The subject lands are shown highlighted in dotted red up there. They are 17.86 hectares in size, and they would allow for, if this development were approved, some existing road extensions as well as some new roads. And I'll show you the plan in just a sec, but I will highlight the fact that the Brenly Estates subdivision has been approved to the north here, and they are starting to build homes there. This air photo was 2015, but there are some homes there. So as part of this subdivision, 25th Avenue would extend down to the south. And then as part of this subdivision, 14th Street would extend in an easterly direction through the subdivision, ultimately to the end of the subdivision here, but longer term, the plan would be to extend it south all the way to Grey Road 4, and it would meet Grey Road 4 at the Walmart and Krabby Joe's intersection. Also on this air photo, you can see sort of to the northeast is the Saugeen River, and there is a significant valley here, and that will shape some of what's happened in the subdivision. So I just want to highlight that before we get on to showing the plan itself. The plan itself at this stage, what council's being asked to support is a subdivision for 49 detached dwellings, 18 semi-detached dwellings, 12 lots for townhouses, and then an additional block of land in the south for an additional 20 townhouses. As I said, there are a few road extensions, including from Brenly Estates and 14th Street, as well as a new street being included as well. There were a number of technical studies done on this. There was an environmental impact study that was significant to this application based on, as you saw, the wooded cover and the valley and the river features nearby. So that was key to the review of this. There was an associated zoning amendment that has been passed by the town of Hanover. The lands are designated as a primary settlement area and hazard lands in the county official plan, and they're designated primarily as residential in the town of Hanover official plan. What you have up there now is the original proposed draft plan of subdivision, and you can see the roads coming through and the lots and everything else. There was one public comment on this application which stated, and maybe we'll even go back to the air photo, that there's a block of lands kind of in behind what we call the Brenly Estates plan of subdivision, right kind of where that arrow is. That could otherwise, if this subdivision wasn't amended accordingly, be landlocked. So as part of the review process, the developer worked with that neighboring landowner to change his design a bit, such that there's now a further northerly street connection on Street C, which would allow for that connection to that small piece of land. The reason it would be landlocked is because the valley and the trees sort of cut in there, and so the owner that owns that land owns roughly a P-shaped piece of land, and this would be the stick at the bottom of the P, and so he'll have lots of room for development in the top sort of loop of the P to the north of the Brenly Estates, but based on where the valley and the trees were, the only suitable place for access to the southerly end of that stick, if you will, was through this development. And so the two parties have worked together, and incidentally, in amending the draft plan, it resulted in one further lot being included. So previously there was only 48 single detached, now there's 49, so that's good in that regard. The town would also look to work with the developer of the subdivision on a trail system to connect to existing trails in the area. As I said, we did get comments from this one landowner, Jack Shank, and his comments have generally been addressed. The other comments we got from agencies have been included as draft conditions in the draft conditions that have been attached to my report. Our County Transportation Services Department requested both a road widening and daylight triangle where it meets the county road, and those conditions have been accommodated, and the town staff were great to work with and provided us detailed draft conditions on behalf of the town. So this particular development, as you saw from the air photo, does comprise a challenging site, both in terms of the trees on site and the valley lands that head down to the Saugeen there. And in order to protect as many of the environmental features as possible, they couldn't quite hit the recommended density of 25 units per net hectare, based on accommodating sort of the preservation of some of those features. That said, they did work as hard as they could within the developable area to provide a range of housing types. So we have some singles, we have some semis, we have some towns. So it's certainly not for lack of trying in that regard. Perhaps one of the most interesting parts of this development review and of the environmental impact study was that it recommended a series of locations in the plan whereby trees and other vegetation and some wet features would have to be preserved. And then it also recommended some other features where they could look at some tree removal in the sort of southeast of the development, in exchange for offsetting that tree removal at a 2-to-1 ratio elsewhere. And we see that quite common in terms of they might cut down trees in one location on the site and plant trees in others. In this case, they're actually proposing to plant those trees off-site. And so we've been working with the developer, we've been working with the Conservation Authority as, I mentioned this morning, as a form of ecological offsetting, to look at what mechanisms we have and the town has to ensure that those trees get replanted at a 2-to-1 ratio. So they are actually looking at planting those trees at a site in West Grey that's owned by the same developer. With that and with the sign-off from the town and the Conservation Authority, staff are satisfied that it has regard for matters of provincial interest under the Planning Act. It's consistent with the provincial policy statement and conforms to both the county and town official plan. As such, we're recommending that the addendum to the report be received. Certainly the public comment, although we only heard one, was directly accommodated, and we can see the changes in the plan based on that comment. So it was certainly taken into account, and then that the draft plan of subdivision be draft approved accordingly. That's all I have at this stage, but certainly be happy to take any questions if there are any.
Comments? See all smiles. Thank you. Then I call the question. All those in favor? Are there any opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much. Heather, you're on. Alternate land use services representation. I need a mover to put this item on the floor. Moved by Councillor Burley, seconded by Councillor Mackey. Heather?
Thank you, Warden Hicks. Annually, Grey County appoints a member to ALIS, which is the Alternate Land Use Services, and they're a partner with Grey, the Grey Agricultural Services that the county supports annually through our budget. And what this group does is it recognizes land stewardship and assists farmers in implementing and funding projects to produce ecosystem services. Things like tree planting, grassland preservation, plantation, and wetland creation. Now, historically, the wardens of both Grey and Bruce County have served as Grey County Council's representative on that committee. Last year with past warden Halliday, he requested that the previous past warden Barfoot act as county representative. In speaking with Warden Hicks, he indicated his desire to continue the historical practice of the warden sitting as Grey County's representative on this committee. So that's the recommendation in front of you today, is that the warden be annually appointed to this committee. Now, should the warden of the day decide they, for whatever reason, are unable to participate, would come forward as an appointment from county council, and county council could certainly choose the respective representative for this committee. So that's my report. If there are any questions, I'm happy to.
Councillor Queen?
I support the report. I just wondered, is there a possibility to have an alternate? Just, I know from a busy life of a warden, is there, like, we have other alternates to Grey County Federation, we have other alternates too. I just wondered if that's something that could be incorporated in the terms of reference. Not nothing taken away from the warden, just if there's a, or would that default to the deputy warden?
We would look to their terms of reference, and right now their terms of reference do not specify an alternate. The Grey County Federation of Agriculture has requested that we provide an alternate, and ALIS right now has not. So if the warden is unable to attend, it would typically default to the deputy.
Okay, call the question. All those in Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you, Heather. Item F. Great Land of Southgate. Okay. And Matt's on board. So can I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Milne, seconded by Councillor Body.
Thank
And
you,
you're
Gordon.
on.
Councillors. A couple of ward reports here today. The first one being Township of Southgate, Dundalk, Grey Road 9, Main Street reconstruction. The tender was put together by a consultant on behalf of Southgate. They have a lot of underground infrastructure that's in need of replacement. So we partnered with on that project, which we usually do on the county roads, and we have a low bid from Moore Contracting of $3,537,589.50, which you guys obviously picked up on in the report. And we're looking to get an endorsement to award our portion of that project. And before we get to that, I guess I just want to make note, something that wasn't in the report was we do have our portion, of course, which is the roadway, curb to curb, storm sewer, everything down to subgrade is what we pretty much are responsible for. There's a couple large culverts in there that we have to replace. That took up a large portion of the budget. But we also have, we've installed or put into the tender to have installed conduit and handholds for future fiber optic place for the SWIFT network. That's something that they've been pushing for and that everybody's been trying to get on board with the last couple of years here. So this project, probably about $75,000 worth of it is going to be to install SWIFT infrastructure at the intersections in order to accommodate future expansion of any fiber network, fiber optic network. And additionally, a contractor, fiber optic contractor, ATEL, they got into the tender as a private party, have some of their infrastructure installed in Dundalk also. So there is a portion of that tender not included in this report that is separate, but being built by the same contractor who is going to install their fiber optic plant within the limits of the project also. So I'm looking for an endorsement for that award.
Questions? Councillor Mackey?
How much does the fiber optic cost per kilometer, do you know? Are we looking at other projects laying, that infrastructure in the ground when we're doing other?
From our perspective, we're just installing, accompanying the crossings at the intersections, and so that they won't have to be dug up in the future. What'll happen is if indeed somebody jumps on board with SWIFT and wants to install fiber optic, they'll directional drill it through the area up to the intersection, and then we've accommodated the crossing. Per kilometer, it depends on how many services they have and whatnot, so it's kind of a tough call, but it's in the neighborhood of, if you were to install full plant with services, et cetera, conduit, it's probably about 125,000 a kilometer.
Thank you.
And that's like brand new with nothing there to begin with, like just the whole deal.
Others? All right, I call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. And back we go to the great land of Hanover again. Lights to go in to accommodate the school, JDSS. I need a mover. Councillor Patterson. She knew I would look at her. Seconded by Councillor Carlton.
Thank you again. Hanover, intersection of 18th Street and Grey Road 4, or excuse me, 10th Street and 18th Ave. There's a school being built to the south of Grey Road 4. There's also some residential development down that road. Basically, the impetus to set these lights up was to accommodate the volume of school buses and other traffic that's going to be by the school. We had two bids on that project, one from Harold Sutherland and one from Arnell Construction. The low bid was Harold Sutherland, and as you would have noted, it was $297,807.76. So this intersection is going to be a brand new, pretty much current I don't want to say state-of-the-art, but it's generally speaking going to be all brand-new equipment that's current technology, which is something we don't have necessarily in the county this time. Most of our infrastructure is in the neighborhood of 15 to 20-plus years old, with a couple installations a little bit newer than that. But this should be a nice setup. It should easily accommodate all the traffic that's going to be working their way through that intersection. What we've done is we've expanded it to the south with a third lane in order to accommodate left and right turn or east and western movements from the south with advanced arrows, and it should move things along great and accommodate the larger and whatnot. So we're looking for an endorsement of that award also.
Questions? Councillor O'Leary.
I'm just wondering about the contingency. How do you figure out what you do for contingency? The last one was 10%, this one's 15%. Why 5% difference?
Road jobs are predominantly when it's a weight quantity, so weight items, we can kind of, so for granular asphalt and whatnot, we like to add, say 10% in order to offset any overruns. Let's say they go a little bit thicker on the asphalt or have a little more granular, maybe called for based on the conditions of the subgrade and whatnot. The electrical, we just haven't done a lot of signal installations recently, and we thought we just should cover off in case something comes up that we weren't aware. We think we have a pretty, it was, I guess I can allude also, it's the first in-house, fully designed signalized intersection we've done, school line yards. So we're fairly confident in what we put together, but we just wanted to cover off in case there was something that may come up.
Should be said, there's another light just west of these lights.
I'm sorry?
There's another set of lights existing near the
Oh,
Tim
yes.
Hortons.
Yes,
So we're looking
17th.
at some possible coordination of lights, which will be not cheap.
Correct. We'd have to do a study. For any kind of coordination, we'd have to do a study and to combine the signals. Like in Owen Sound, 10th Street, they ran conduit when they did the 10th Street Big Dig and actually have coordination with the signals. We don't have that in Hanover. In all likelihood, if we were to coordinate any signals, it would be a wireless setup, and there would be a cost to it, but I mean, that's definitely something that if the future, dictates.
Also, just to clarify, that constituted in this bid?
This installation will be set up for
Okay.
this intersection.
All right.
But the intersections aren't set up, the rest of the intersections in that area aren't set up.
Correct, okay.
They'd have to be kind of brought into the fold.
Other questions? I call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That too is carried.
Thank you very much.
Sure. All right, we're on to item 8, other business. Is there any other business? Item 9, Councillor Desai.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. A quick question. Last week, when we were in Pembroke at the OSIM conference, on Friday there was legislation that was introduced called More Homes, More Choices. My question through you to our staff is whether staff are looking at risk. I'm not asking if they've gone through it and have a prepared response, but if there is a report coming forward with regards to a response to that.
So I believe that Randy had mentioned that when he was on his feet, and the answer is yes. Any other? Councillor McQueen. Councillor
Mr.
McQueen.
Warden, just briefly, I understand Wellington County is going through a process, is we all got money from the province to look at ways of building efficiency, is the way it was laid out, okay? I understand that Wellington County, each municipality is putting in the money to sort of do a study to look at a bigger picture of efficiency. I don't know, if something that, I don't know, Cam, if you can investigate that a little bit and bring something back from Wellington. I heard something about it, and I know we all got that money, and it might be the last money we ever get. But the thing is they're looking at ways of collectively looking at efficiency, so.
Thanks for the question. Just so you're aware, just like yourselves, we've been receiving information every week, a little bit more about things that are going to change. So I think you can expect at the next meeting, we'll provide council with a summary of the changes to various funding models, or as we know them at the time. I think from there will need to be a discussion about how best to address those shortfalls, because some of them are in year. And certainly how to best use those transition funds may be part of that. I think we've talked about strategic planning and strategic priorities. I think there's probably a place, once we get a little bit more information, that we'll be looking to you to come together and try to do some future thinking in that regard. So, short answer, I think we just need to consider all of our options and all of the information to know if in fact, undertaking a study like that is the best use, but get some more information. It was Kevin that brought the Wellington study to my attention when I came back. So we are watching and looking at what they're doing, so thank you.
Oh, Kevin?
Just like I said too, there's been lots of municipalities that have offered ideas of how to use that funding, but now that all the funding announcements are starting to trickle out, I'm sure those plans are maybe changing.
Yeah.
So
I have to say, it feels like there are a lot of moving targets right about now. Councillor Worley?
Do we have any notices of motion?
Do we have any notices of motion before we entertain Councillor Burley's? We didn't have to say it, he knows. Seeing none,